You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts on the midterm review of the EU Biodiversity Strategy.
Our biodiversity is at risk, and the truth is, EU member states are not doing enough to protect it. This is one of the conclusions of the European Commission's midterm review of the EU Biodiversity Strategy, but there are more. Stay with us to find out how the European Parliament is reacting.
Let's start with the key word. What is biodiversity?
It's the variety of life on Earth at more than one level. So it's not only the variety of species, plant and animal, but also the variety of genes within those species, and the variety of ecosystems in which the species live. So why is it important?
Well, healthy biodiversity provides us with food, materials, medicines, clean air and water. Furthermore, it provides jobs, 1 in 6 in the EU, and nurtures our economy. So it is as important for our well-being as it is for our pockets.
I see. So if it's so important, and 9 out of 10 EU citizens agree with this, why are we destroying it?
That's a good question, but I'm afraid we would need a few more podcasts to answer it. So let's just concentrate on the facts. The main drivers are human-induced pressures such as overexploitation of natural resources, for example fish stocks, loss of viable habitats, for example rapid urbanization, pollution, climate change, or even invasive alien species. According to the World Economic Forum, biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse are among the top global risks in 2016, mainly due to overexploitation of natural resources.
If we look at the EU, recent studies show that nearly 77% of protected habitats and 60% of protected species are in an unfavourable conservation state. So what are EU institutions, and in particular the European Parliament, doing about this?
Well, after the EU failed to meet its target to halt biodiversity loss by 2010, in 2011, the EU adopted a biodiversity strategy, setting a new headline target in 2020. Halfway through the programme in 2015, the European Commission looked back on the progress achieved so far.
And it didn't quite like what it saw. In its midterm review of the biodiversity strategy, the European Commission could only confirm that biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation have continued, albeit at a lower pace. So what's the scoreboard?
Well, one of the 6 targets is on track to be met, that is, combating invasive alien species. 4 targets, implementing the nature directives, restoring ecosystems, ensuring sustainable fisheries, and helping avert global diversity loss, show insufficient progress, and nothing significant has been done to increase the contribution of agriculture and forestry to biodiversity protection. So how does the European Parliament see this?
Since 2010, the European Parliament has passed several resolutions to encourage further EU action in support of biodiversity, the promotion of green infrastructure investments, and countering the spread of invasive alien species.
And in a report on the Commission's midterm review adopted by the Environment Committee in December 2015, MEPs showed deep concern about the continuing loss of biodiversity and call for the full implementation and adequate financing of the nature directives, notably the Birds Directive and the Habitats Directive, which form the backbone of the EU's biodiversity policy and the basis for Natura 2000, its nature protection network.
MEPs also highlight the need for more policy coherence, in particular between biodiversity protection and agriculture and forestry. And the European Parliament urges the Commission and Member States to redirect funds under the Common Agricultural Policy from environmentally harmful activities to sustainable agricultural practices.
The European Parliament is scheduled to debate and vote on this important report on biodiversity during the February plenary session in Strasbourg. You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.